great lizards. So just in conclusion, and I think this quote is on the bottom of your pages, evolution is not a proven science, but rather a scapegoat. So when scientists come to the edge of what they're willing to search for and what they're willing to believe, everything then goes into evolutionary theory. Oh, you know what? I actually missed a part in here. I'm sorry. We have a couple more minutes. I want to go back and real quickly and talk about Darwin. What do you know about Darwin? Because this is fascinating too. I totally missed that page. Does anybody know anything about Darwin? Darwin was not a scientist. The man that created creation theory was not a scientist. He was a theology major. But when his daughter died at the age of 10 from a very slow, painful disease, he denounced his belief in God, which pushed him in the direction of finding answers other than what he had believed and been taught. He found it impossible to believe that an all-powerful God would allow this to happen, and therefore that was proof that God didn't exist. And we talked about that in the first week, right? So his bias, his anti-God bias, paved the way for the development of this. But this is fascinating. Do you know that Darwinism is actually a very racist ideology? Because it believes that the races were, some races were inferior to others and that they were developed at different times and they developed at different rates. What's really kind of very scary is the fact that they believe that Darwin had a direct influence on Hitler's belief in the Aryan race, and that's why he made it his goal to wipe out the race of the Jews. Wow. Yeah, isn't that something?
Amy, I wanted to say, last year I had my DNA tested, like with Ancestry.
Yes.
And what's interesting is that I was no surprises because I did know pretty much my most recent history. But all of us eventually go back, and guess where mine went to? The Middle East, North Africa, because
Really?
that's where, I mean,
The
you know,
hotbed of society.
That's right. That's where we believe that the Garden of Eden was somewhere there. We don't know exactly where. But I would guess that if everyone had theirs done, that's what would happen. And so you can just follow the pattern, like click.
Isn't that amazing?
It went back to where?
And that's science.
It went back to where?
To the middle, they follow your DNA. They can just follow it. There's a tribe in Africa, North Africa, that's considered the oldest people group on Earth. In other words, every one of us has the same DNA they do. So they're the oldest. And so the whole thing with the races is actually kind of a joke because we all end up with the same
Exactly.
DNA. We all do. Like all of us in
Nowhere,
this room
somewhere.
have somewhere far enough back that we have the same DNA because biblically, if God created Adam
yes.
and Eve, then we all came from it.
In the Human Genome Project, has anyone heard of that?
Yes, right.
That actually proved, even though they refused to go to that conclusion, they proved that we all came from the same.
Yeah. And it was so neat to see it on paper, though.
Wow,
I was
yeah,
just like,
that's
wow.
Yeah.
I have a great story. My father-in-law is an atheist. He called me and said, "You've got to put on channel 13 and watch this."
That was a good
And he
one.
said, and so it starts off with like this ape walking, well, eventually becoming erect, walking like a man. And he's like, "Yeah, it's going to show it goes back to one." I said, "Yeah, Adam." And he's like, so I watched this thing, and aside from that little ape converting into a man, it was tracing people's history.
Yeah.
They didn't think they were from where they thought they were from,
That's
but it
right.
traced them all back to one person.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wish I could remember what the name of the, it was a documentary thing.
I
It
have-
was a, whatever, it was a special,
Yes.
it wasn't a documentary, it was a
Yeah,
special.
right, I have that.
And they showed all these people like, no, our ancestors went this way. They're like, well, your blood shows that you came from here.
And there's no denying it, because the
But it was so
DNA
awesome.
is
Wow.
real.
She was saying she
So,
wished. It
so
is,
black,
yeah.
white, Asian, guess what? We all came from the same one.
Yep.
And so all the racists in the world can see that, they can't deny it, it's scientific. But I saw that, I was like, my husband and I were laughing so hard because I said, it's proof right there. You don't see that on the news.
No, you
But-
don't.
But really, I mean, could you imagine? But really, all you have to do is have your ancestry, you know, your DNA tested, you'll see in black and white, you see it go right, click, click, click.
Wow.
That's what it said in the Bible, he wanted everybody to scatter and go everywhere,
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
that's what they did.
That's what they
That's
did.
exactly what they did.
And
Scattered.
even Noah's sons are the fathers of many of the different races.
Right. Yeah, one went
One-
up through
Yeah,
Asia
yeah.
and
Yes.
came into the Americas, another went up into Northern Europe. I mean, it's all right there, and it's all in black and white with the genes. Put Christianity aside, it's still right there.
Yes, and so, you know, just in our final point here is that science, good science,
Yep.
is right in step with the God of the universe, and that He spoke into existence. So the next time, and on your pages there, I want you to spend some time praying through and reading some scriptures and actually formulating, what would you say? You know, if you, and not that you have to debate everyone that you meet. I like to debate. I realize not everybody likes to do that, but it does say that we need to have an answer for the hope that we have.
Yep.
So we need to at least understand the Bible. We need to understand the biblical truths and how that relates to us. So let's go ahead and pray, and then we can. Lord, we just thank you for this time. God, we ask that during this week you would continue to speak to us and reveal your truth to us. God, we are so grateful that the blinders are not on our eyes, as it says in Romans chapter 1, that you have enlightened us and that you've allowed us to see the truth of your creation and of your being. And we're in awe of you, Jesus. We thank you. In your name we pray. Amen.
I just finished reading, I don't know if anybody has ever read anything that Michael Phillips has written, if anybody likes to read. But Michael Phillips, he's a Christian and he's written a lot of fiction and nonfiction. But I just got done reading this series and it was awesome. And the books are like, there were 3 in this specific series, and the books are like, they're like 700 pages. I read each one like within a week. But it was amazing because, I mean, it started out, I mean, I really like to read about the South and slavery and where it came from and how it started and where did these slaves come from. And I mean, and he does a genealogy thing on the Indians and, you know, and everything and how far back it went. I mean, he went way, 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 way back. So, I mean, if anybody likes history, I mean, it's got a story to it also, but it's just, it's amazing. And I mean, he talked about, and I wish I would have paid more attention when I was in school to history, because he talked about the Trail of Tears. And I didn't know anything about it, you know, but it's just amazing, you know, where the slaves came from and how they got here.
Yeah, isn't it?
It is.
Wow.
There was a scientist once that I read or watched or something with the dinosaurs. It was something I might have read, but he said that some of the dinosaurs died during the flood. And the reason why they're saying that is because every single dinosaur is facing the direction of what they're saying the flood went. How the flood went, how the motion of the flood, like how the water
Really?
ran. They're thinking that's the way the water ran. That's because all the dinosaurs are looking the same way. Like they're all, you know, and he put this, and I said to my husband whenever I learned this, horses, whenever it gets windy, they all face their backs to the direction of the wind. So a dinosaur, he was saying a dinosaur could do the same thing. the rain started, the winds were blowing, and they all started facing the same way. And when they dig their bones up, they're all facing the same direction. I can't remember what direction it is,
I was gonna
but
ask you.
it was, I can't remember what he said the direction was, but that's how I knew. And it was my son and I, Robbie wanted to know why are the dinosaurs were in the Bible, and that's why I knew, Deuteronomy and
Wouldn't
a
they
couple
put them
other
on the
verses,
ark?
'cause
Wouldn't they put, since they took two of every kind?
Well, yes, so there were two, we don't know which particular species, but yes, there was
Some
two
that-
dinosaurs.
that were
Whether
on
they
there.
were two pterodactyls, it didn't have to be two of every species of dinosaur. But they believed then that they existed for a while and then they became extinct because of environmental factors.
So you were saying that, like, okay, if we talk about a cat, and I mean, there are so many species of cats. So are you saying that every cat is capable, they have the DNA or the makings of any species?
Yes.
So like when they went to the ark, it wasn't necessarily that they took two tigers and two lions.
Exactly.
They just took
two
two.
cats.
Two
Exactly.
cats.
A male and a female?
And of the
Is
clean
that-
animals, they took 7, but you're right,
Okay.
the unclean
So
animals.
that's, so it wouldn't be one of every kind.
Exactly,
Because
which
it'd be
is
like,
why
it would
they
take them
believe.
forever to get them all in there.
Exactly.
And there wouldn't be
Be on a
enough room.
floating ship with
Yeah. That's
40,000.
amazing.
And that's
Isn't
why
that
he was
amazing?
saying some of the
Makes you wonder.
dinosaurs didn't make it onto the ark
The same way
because of
we
their,
evolved,
God didn't want them to be
like,
in
because we
in
all
there.
look different.
Yes.
Like, depending on our environment or where we live, like why you have blue eyes and light hair, why some people have darker skin. Or, you figure they all started out with brown
They came
eyes,
to
but
him.
why did some turn green, some
Right.
turn red? It's the same thing, we all had the same DNA, but we all came out different.
Yeah.
The same as like any, like canine or feline or any of those.
And right now, we're doing it
Exactly.
with dogs, like dogs all came from wolves. Well, a Chihuahua this big doesn't look like a wolf, but,
You want
They
to
have all the
see?
same.
yeah.
She thinks she's a wolf.
I know, but you know what I mean, we've actually speeded
My
it
wolf
up.
thought she was a
Last
wolf.
century, how we've bred all these different dogs, and they're all still dogs.
Yes.
But
Yes,
they
I
look
know,
different.
exactly. Whereas if evolution was true,
They'd have different genetics, they don't.
we would lose the original
Right.
species, or
Right,
the
right,
original,
right.
we'd lose dogs,
Yeah.
right? Because they'd be,
Exactly the same,
Yeah.
yeah, but no, that is interesting. And that's what natural selection is. I mean, so there are mutations to the genes, and there are things that happen, but a mutation or a change is actually deterioration. It's not this, new genetic stuff to create a completely different type of animal.
One more quick question, if I could. So, like, a lot of people will say, especially young, newer Christians, well, if you had Adam and Eve and then you had Cain and Abel, where'd they get a wife from? And then they'll say, do you think that there were more people on the earth than them? And I say, I have such a little mind, I don't think so. I mean, I can't imagine there being more people. I mean, when they were put out of the Garden of Eden, I just picture it as it just being those 4. I don't know where the woman came from that came, or, that they married. I mean, were there more people before them even?
That's a little unclear, but the thing to remember too is people lived 800 years back then. So, obviously God allowed, if there was incest, he permitted that, or he created more beings from Adam. We don't know exactly, but I think that's the other thing. We don't want to get too caught up in,
Right.
people look for answers on dinosaurs in the Bible, and that was not, just like if you're an author and you write a book, you have certain storylines and you have a direction. It doesn't cover every single detail. But even so, think about how gracious God is, like just what he's given us in that book that is so far beyond what we ever imagined.
Well, there's the one scripture that I always default to. I believe that evolutionists, that's their faith. And as far as creationism goes, I believe it's in Hebrews, it says, by faith we understand that the whole universe was created at God's command. So the Bible tells us it's by faith. There's an element of faith.
There is.
And so we accept that. His word tells us that. I can't go back and reprove anything, but I can accept by faith what's written.
Well, it's good. Because there has to be trust, because people that are believing other theories, there's trust in something else. No, it's good. All right, ladies, any last questions before we, you're welcome to stay. Yeah, this is gonna be our last class for